Welcome. I'm Halcyon, and this is the Hug Nation broadcast. I am excited to share insights about immediacy versus the news. In my coaching program this last week, one of the assignments that I gave was to do a news fast. And it was a very interesting week to do a news fast. It was the week of the inauguration. And if you have not been paying attention to current events in the news, it's been tumultuous in our capital. So the thought of avoiding paying attention to what was going on in the capital was daunting. For some, it was a impossibility or irresponsible even. But what came up for me and for a number of the people that were going through this with me was that it became this opportunity to really look at what is the news and what is the difference between witnessing history, witnessing current events, and consuming a curated version of it. So when we talked in the group about what consists of being within or outside of a news fast, for example, is watching The Daily Show or Saturday Night Live Weekend Update, is that the news? My argument, yes. Those are taking events and wrapping them in a perspective and giving you a way to think about it. And that was a big part of this exercise, is to try to separate how much of the way you see the world is actually the way you experience it, and how much of it is filtered through someone else's experience, through curation, through commentary. And so, for example, watching the inauguration, the footage of the inauguration, watching the speeches given, that was not news. That was witnessing history. Now, listening to commentary leading up to it, listening to commentary afterwards, listening to podcasts talking about it, listening to pundits talking about it, listening to the newscasters saying why that was important, going onto Twitter and hearing people or watching people discuss how powerful a certain speech was or how irresponsible it was to use a certain song. This is all in the realm of news. This is now in the realm of ideas, thoughts, viewpoints that are outside your experience of the world are being handed to you. Now, this is incredibly, I think, subtle, but very important, because if we're not aware of this process of us growing our understanding and our perceptions of the world through other people, through mediators, we do not notice when those perceptions have bias or whether they have perspectives. And what we find ourselves doing sometimes is actually getting in conversations or getting in arguments or defending things or dismissing things, sometimes even saying the very words that come out of our mouths as argument, as things we believe, and yet it's not based on witnessing history. It's based on something that has been told to us from someone else. I see it all the time in online conversations, people arguing, and I'm like, this person has never worked in a laboratory. Clearly, they are basing this based on something else that they believe in, which is fine, but you need to recognize that and acknowledge it, and recognize that when you are taking a third-party curator, you are doing so by choice. You are taking your internal bias, your cognitive bias, and you are working with that to find further evidence for what you already believe. You are. And so if you think that you are being a well-informed researcher, but are not really going deep and questioning your cognitive bias, and really being aware that you are ingesting facts or information that have not been, if you're not aware that it's been curated and has been tainted through someone else's perspective, you are a victim to manipulation. Now, you could be choosing that. We live in a world where it is impossible to understand and be aware of everything that's happening in the world at the same time. You have to choose people that say, I trust this third party. I want to figure out what they are saying. I want to trust that they are going to share with me things that I need to know. But if you don't keep checking in and just know that that's what you're doing, then you have this false belief that you are informed, and then other perspectives are wrong or misled. Again, you can choose, and you should choose, hey, these are the people, the voices that I respect. As long as you can make a separation between, this is an experience that I've had, and this is an experience that I'm trusting via someone else. And the reason why I'm trusting this person is because my bias is in alignment with theirs. Although it is tempting to have this network of curators, whether it's news people, whether it's bloggers, whether it is, Twitter feeds, it feels like it is an effective thing to pay attention to certain influencers or reporters or whatever, so that we can keep an idea of everything that's happening in the world. And yet, we are not equipped. The human brain is not built, it has not evolved to be able to pay attention to all things going on in the world at the same time. We cannot handle that much stress and awareness and responsibility. So even though you might have some voices saying, like, it's irresponsible not to pay attention to everything, check back in with your biology, with your functioning, with the hard look and reality and say, am I actually staying aware, or am I becoming a echo of some voice, some stance that I have chosen to align with? Because you certainly don't have the bandwidth to do full-on, investigative journalism on everything on your own. And so this media fast really helped me to try to think about, okay, what is the difference between an experience and a curated experience? What is the difference between, watching the inauguration and listening to commentary about the inauguration? It's kind of like the difference between going Burning Man and going to a concert or a festival, where at Burning Man, you are responsible for choosing where you're going to go. You're responsible for following your instincts. You're responsible for all of your experiences and how you interpret them. Whereas if you go to a concert, there are promoters that have arranged for a massive amount of the experience. They've chosen, who is going to perform, how you are going to see them, the volume of it. They are choosing all of these things and giving you an experience that they believe to be the ideal one for the ticket price that they have charged you. Now, that can be incredibly great. You may choose, I want to be entertained tonight. I want to go to a concert. I want to buy a beer. I want to rock out to my favorite artists. And I don't want to worry about, is the generator working? I don't want to worry about, is the soundboard okay? I don't want to worry, is there, glass on the ground on the dance floor? I just want someone else to take care of all that, and I want to have this curated experience. And I trust the promoters. I trust the venue. Great. But I think understanding the difference between that and Burning Man, or the difference between, say, backpacking and an adventure versus going on a safari. Nothing wrong with saying, hey, I would like somebody to take me to where they know the tigers are going to be and point out the things in nature that, are kind of protected in this little area. Great, I want that experience. But it is not the same thing as traveling off into the woods. And the danger comes is when I go on a safari and then I say, that's the way nature is. That's not the way nature is. That's the way it has been packaged for you. Or when you watch the news and go, oh, that's the way the world is. That's the way Washington is. No, that's not the way the world is or Washington is. That's the way it has been packaged for us. And so keeping that awareness of what is the difference between our experience and what we ingest via the perspectives of others is critical so that we can maintain sanity and I think some distance from the manipulation. Because what all of these things exterior to you are doing is they are deciding for you what is important. The promoter decides who the headliner is going to be. Decides, who's going to be the opening act. Decides who is going to be able to sell t-shirts and where the t-shirt revenue is going to go. So from that, I believe, from the way this is presented to me, I believe that the headliner is the better, more important band. And I mean, maybe I don't believe they're better, but that is influencing because it has been presented to me that way. And the same with anything that we are presenting. When the news is telling you, hey, here's the stories of the day, they are not listing down, here's everything that happened in the world today. They're saying, here are the things that we have decided is important for you. And you can look at what the news covers and go, oh, well, clearly this is more important because this was happening to light-skinned people. This is less important because it was happening to darker-skinned people, whether domestically or abroad. This is inciting venom kind of topic, so we're going to make that in the forefront of people's vision, and we're going to present it in a way that gets you riled up. Again, all of this is okay as long as you know that's what's happening and you are not under the false impression that the news is a window to the world. It is a curation that tells you what's important. And what I've been doing lately is, as I've been getting so worked up and so freaked out about the state of the world and everything that's going wrong, I'll close my eyes and go how am I being affected by this in this moment? And the answer is not at all. So now I can make some space between what has been told to me is important, what has been told to me is the perspective that is truth, and I can go, okay, I now can weigh that perspective along with other perspectives. I'm not saying close your eyes, put your head in the sand, and pretend that there is nothing going wrong, or there is no oppression, or that everything is perfect. I'm saying that recognizing the difference between the experience and the truth that you can evaluate based on what you see, hear, smell, touch, taste, and that which has been given to you is huge. And it is it is an important, you've got to just keep having that balance of back and forth and checking in so that you don't get whipped into a state of being manipulated. I think we are all always being manipulated. I'm sure everything I've said today has been affected by things that I have heard from other people, ideas that I've heard through other speakers or teachers. Some of it, self-awareness, but even that self-awareness has probably been affected by other things that I've heard and other things that people have said. I can break things down, and go, to what degree do I have knowledge and of what of truth is in this moment. I'm trusting the feedback that I'm getting through my computer, that I am speaking to people across the world, and I have a degree of trust to this Facebook platform, this YouTube platform, to iTunes. I have a degree of trust. You could argue, why, dude? Why would you trust them? And that would be a great question. And it would be good for me to go oh, okay, let me check in and go, what part of this reality do I have certainty about, and what part am I agreeing to trust? And that gives me the freedom. So, so this news fast was extremely helpful for me in in that reminder, in making that distance and making that separation, so that I can notice, like, when I even myself find myself regurgitating, reciting, parroting things that I have seen and heard on the news. The news, and the news is broad. News could be, a Facebook post. It could be a headline. It could be somebody talking about something they know in the news. Um, and I think that a big part of wisdom is learning to have doubt about your perceptions, about the way your brain works, about the way other people are, you know, absolutely fanatically absolute in their truth. Learning to see it all through a lens of of a deeper awareness of the differences between perception, perspective, bias, and experience. So, yes, I watched the inauguration even while I was on a news fast, and the process of doing that together has given me a little bit more confidence and confidence in my ability to perceive, even if it has given me less confidence in my ability to know what is absolute and true. So I'm going to trust that you can hear me, and I'm going to trust that you are on this path with me. And from that place, I choose to be grateful for you and for this moment. Thank you. I love you.